Hello and welcome to the first episode of Sci-Fi Night Ranking, where we rank every single episode, season, movie of a certain series or property from the worst to the best. Sure, this is kind of similar to a Sci-Fi Night Top 5, but instead of just focusing on the best, we're gonna have something to say about every single installment. So, on September 5th, the 7th season of American Horror Story will premiere, and so we figured it's as good a time as any to rank the seasons from worst to best. Now, people's opinions on these seasons seem to differ quite a bit, so this should be a lot of fun. American Horror Story is an anthology show released in 2011, meaning that each season exists as its own story, not directly connected to other seasons, though there are usually a few small reoccurring names or themes. The seasons follow a variety of spooky topics, ranging from haunted houses to messed up circus shows, with a pretty great cast and production. Now, the stories are all pretty damn different, so let's get to the description and the ranking, which starts off with number 6, which goes to Season 3, Coven. So, Season 3 starts out pretty damn good actually, with great cast additions of Kathy Bates and Angela Bassett, and an interesting voodoo and witchery theme going on.
That's a light. If you don't hit your mark, that light can't hit you.
So, fun fact. Dennis O'Hare is once again excellent in this season, as we always silent Spaulding.
Hey Jeeves, can I get some iceberg lettuce with a side of blue cheese?
Girl, be nice to Spaulding. Poor Bassett ain't got no tongue.
Is that true, Jeeves? Did you use your tongue for something wicked? Or maybe you just suck at going down.
And he went so hard for the role that he refused to speak to the cast and crew while in character. In Season 3, we follow a group of young witches who basically do the X-Men thing and go to a school for girls gifted with the power of witchcraft, getting dragged into a battle for supremacy.
Now we need to stop this petty quarreling. We've got bigger problems than what goes on between us. Last night, outside our academy, witch hunters.
What starts off interesting gets lame pretty quick though, and everybody coming back to life after being killed makes everything lose a bit of weight.
You don't know what you're talking about.
The real historical connections were definitely interesting, and there was a lot of cool stuff like the Minotaur, but at the end of the day, the season kind of falls apart halfway through, and much like many seasons of American Horror Story, becomes a bit too unfocused and flimsy the longer the season goes.
Like anyone believes that.
Overall, it starts off pretty fun, or well, actually it starts off pretty fucking brutal.
Bonsoir, my pets. Did you all miss me?
Hush up. I'll rip your lips open and stuff more shit in there.
But unfortunately, this season is hardly something to leave you spellbound.
You asked for a soul. I give you one.
You must provide them innocent.
Oh, she's innocent. Mostly. She killed the neighbor, but the bitch had it coming.
Alright, this brings us to the number 5 spot, which goes to Season 4, Freak Show. This season follows the performers and crazy family that is the traveling South Florida Freak Show, as we encounter new members, intrigue, and even spells. What's interesting is that a lot of the characters are based on real-life people with birth defects and special conditions, such as Evan Peters' character, who is based on the real-life lobster boy Grady Stiles. And also, of course, some of the actors actually do have some of these defects.
This condition is called phocomelia, and it means seal-like limb. Of course, these are different and they're interesting to look at, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm powerful and awesome, and I have these. And I'm a freak, and I'm an actor, and I'm a freak actor, playing a freak, and it's awesome.
So apparently a lot of people don't like this season, and I guess I can see why. It does get a little unfocused as the episodes go on, but so do most of the seasons. However, overall, I enjoyed it, even if it started running out of steam towards the end. There were a few too many musical numbers for my taste.
What a bunch of bunk.
And though he wasn't in the show for nearly as long as we'd like, Twisty the Clown was a great and flat-out haunting villain.
Troy?
Sarah Paulson, just like with every season, pulls off a damn good performance, and the Halloween episode is kind of a modern classic.
If any freak performs on Halloween, they summon the spirit of Edward Mordrake.
and his demon half-face.
Once he appears, he never leaves alone. That whispering face will choose one more freak to take with him back to hell.
I just wish the second half of the season didn't drag on so much. And the villain that we would get to replace Twisty the Clown didn't really match him.
Get out! This is freak women only.
Again, it's a case where some of the individual ideas were better than the overall execution, but I still enjoyed this twisted tale.
I am the astounding lizard girl. You get to live only because I say so.
This brings us to the number 4 spot, which goes to season 5, Hotel. This is about the owners, employees, residents, and many ghosts of the Hotel Cortez, which may as well be called the Bloodbath Murder Death Inn on account of how many people get brutally murdered here. An interesting fact is that the Hotel Cortez is actually based on the real-life Hotel CECIL, also in Los Angeles, and has a long, dark history of suicides, murders, serial killers staying there, and other mysterious occurrences.
You look like you need a drink.
So season 5 had a lot going against it, and while the show suffered from the loss of Jessica Lange, they did try some different stuff that was a lot of fun.
Splendid! Why, I couldn't be more pleased. Let's have a toast, shall we?
Lady Gaga did a surprisingly good job as the Countess. She really stole the show every time she was on screen and gave a really strong performance.
Why waste your time killing some destitute beggar? What's to be gained? Select a victim with money or jewels. Then your little hobby can benefit us both. And next time,
In addition, Dennis O'Hare, Angela Bassett, and Sarah Paulson all put in great performances as usual.
I tried it all, man. There is nothing better.
However, it was really nice to see Evan Peters go from playing the misunderstood good guy, which he kind of does in every season,
Yes.
to an over-the-top serial killer who is now a ghost.
I'm dead, dear. Not stupid.
Anyway, Peters is great. He's so entertaining every single time he's on screen as this twisted 1920s maniac.
Pull the trigger and take her last breath. It's exhilarating.
You're crazy.
Overall, this season has a lot more energy than previous seasons and is definitely a bit more upbeat than the darker and grimier previous season Freak Show.
To thine own self be true. Polonius.
The gore levels were definitely amped up from previous seasons as well, and probably the sex scenes, because it feels like every single episode had at least one.
Hardly a concern, Miss Evers.
Visually, it's also definitely one of the more appealing seasons with great cinematography, and this season also had some of the best soundtrack in the show's history.
Do what you want, don't dirty me.
But the core story is just a little too unfocused, once more.
I don't think so, dude.
And I didn't really like Wes Bentley's character or story arc much at all.
I don't believe I care for your tone.
It's a shame that the Ten Commandments killer subplot, which starts out really interesting, really just ends up being kind of a fart in the wind at the end.
You disapprove.
For every clever decision, there's kind of a silly one that's made as well, and for as much as I love the aesthetics, it isn't really enough to call for a lasting stay at this hotel.
Let me go!
No, I don't suppose I will.
This puts us at the number 3 spot and the 6th season, Roanoke. Following the 5th season, show creators Brad Falchuk and Ryan Murphy said that they would do something different with the 6th. And they sure did. Aside from adding Cuba Gooding Jr. to the cast, they went for a sort of a Blair Witch kinda documentary style with parts of it, and a dramatized TV series for most of it.
We rolling? The camera never stops. No matter what anybody says, even if I tell you to stop, you keep rolling, got it?
What's interesting is that FX had been releasing weird teasers and promos for the season long before the story was even thought out. This was done to confuse and mislead fans about the real theme of the season. The real theme turned out to be based around the legend of the old American colony Roanoke, whose inhabitants all completely disappeared several hundred years ago. In the 6th season, a couple buys a house in what turns out to be built on a dark land with a tragic and horrific story, where the Roanoke colonists actually ended up settling. Before you know it, ghosts, spirits, pig monsters, killer rednecks, family drama, and much more have turned this quiet southern house into hell on earth.
I know what I saw. It was real.
So even though it took me quite a while to get used to, the fake TV drama thing actually worked really well for me and was a welcome change of pace. It also happened to be one of the creepiest seasons ever. And even though the core theme of a haunted house has been done to death by now, the different production made this feel a bit more fresh. Once again, there were a lot of great performances, but none that really stuck out. Though I'd say that Sarah Paulson really was the best actress once more. Damn, she really does a good job in this show. A lot of people felt that the final episode was useless, and well, it kind of was, except for the very final segment, which I felt was a nice finish to one of the characters' story arcs. But to be fair, it could have been resolved in episode 9.
You only think you know the story.
It all gets very meta, and at times I do feel like the documentary formula works against the atmosphere. Like, there were times in the handheld camera segments where I kept wondering who was getting these shots.
You're the worst ever. Why would you do that?
Overall though, great, super creepy, and a nice, fresh, and different season that holds up as one of the best.
There was no way out.
They were monsters. It was inhuman.
It was all over.
At the number 2 spot, we hit Season 1, Murder House. The season that started it all. With Dylan McDermott, Connie Britton, and Taissa Farmiga as a family moving into an old house in Los Angeles to try to get a new start after some tragic history. The problem? This is like the most haunted house ever, populated by the ghosts of all the people who died there. And a little something else, too. We follow as the family tries to both deal with and discover more about the paranormal phenomenon that's happening in the house.
Fiona?
Horror fans will also get a kick out of the fact that famous horror scores from Psycho, Bram Stoker's Dracula, and Insidious are all used in Murder House, and Season 2 features music from classics like Carrie and Candyman. As the episodes of Season 1 go on, things get crazier and crazier, and we find out much more about the previous residents of the Murder House, how they're connected, and what's in store for the new family. This was a great jumping off point for the show. A little more restrained and simple as opposed to later seasons, but it works great here.
Amen.
Though, where some of the seasons get a little too unfocused, this season suffers from being a little bit repetitive at times.
I'll get the shovel. You get the bleach.
However, overall, the story is pretty solid and the ending is just flat out great.
You were graced with so many gifts. How is it that you can't bring yourself to use them? Just a smile or a kind word could open the gates to heaven.
No matter how much you want it, I will never be your perfect son.
This brings us to the number 1 spot, which goes to Season 2, Asylum. A quick bit of creepy and interesting info is that the song Dominique, which is heard repeatedly throughout the season,
Dominique, nique, s'en allait tout simplement, routier, pauvre et chantant. En tout chemin, en tout lieu, il ne parle que du bon Dieu.
was interpreted by a Belgian nun who later ended up killing herself in 1985. Quite interesting on account of the song and the characters in this season.
You like to dream large.
Anyway, oh man, Asylum is just so damn great. It could very well be the darkest installment so far, as we get treated to a season that has, well, everything. A mental institution, a serial killer, Nazi doctors, mutants, demonic possession, and of course, aliens. The last of which feels a little out of place, but we'll get back to that. In this season, we follow the staff and patients at Barcliff Manor Mental Institution as we deal with all kinds of crazy stuff going on inside. And on top of that, outside of the asylum, the serial killer Bloodyface is wreaking havoc on young women. This is a real powerhouse season with spectacular performances from Evan Peters, Sarah Paulson, and Zachary Quinto.
Oh, Heavenly Host! Will you release me? Can you release me?
Oh, shut up, you stupid sow!
She likes it here.
But it truly is Jessica Lange who steals the show as Sister Jude Martin.
Look at you, Miss Lana Banana. Just remember, if you look in the face of evil, evil's gonna look right back at you.
This season gave us an excellent Christmas special, had good pacing, and the switch between the modern day mystery and the main story taking place in the 50s didn't bother me at all. The alien subplot is a little weird and out of place, but it doesn't ruin the season.
They weren't human. They were monsters.
All monsters are human. You're a monster.
And overall, I feel like this is the most balanced season so far, engrossing enough without getting unfocused like some of the later seasons. It's emotional, creepy, very well shot, and it just does everything better than previous seasons.
I'm here to help you, if that's what you want.
Overall, this was definitely the season that you should lock yourself in for.
What are you that you can look upon me? I'm just a simple nun. A nun, perhaps, but not so simple.
Alright, so that was the very first episode of Sci-Fi Night Ranking. We hope you enjoyed it. If you have a different ranking of the seasons of American Horror Story, by all means let us know. And of course, let us know what you think about the upcoming Season 7. I'm your host, Sebastian Mendel Martinez, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Oh, Bolivian marching powder. Too tame for my taste. I found a far better way to stimulate.
I tried it all, man. There is nothing better.
You know. In your black heart of hearts, you know. You're just like me.